Welcome to Know What You Are Investing podcast. We decode the world's top companies. What they do, how they grow, why it matters. In this episode, we break down the biggest takeaways from the Google I/O 2025 keynote. From the rapid rise of the Gemini AI model and next-gen personal assistants, to a smarter AI-powered Google search, immersive XR experiences, and breakthroughs in generative media, this is your guide to understanding how Google is shaping the future and what it means for investors and business leaders.
You know that feeling. Technology is just evolving at like warp speed and you're trying to keep up, but without needing a PhD in Silicon Valley wizardry. It's exciting, definitely, but wow, it can also feel like drinking from a fire hose sometimes. You want the insights, right? The key stuff, without drowning in jargon.
Exactly. Yep. And that's really the core of what we try to do here on the Deep Dive. We take that huge flood of information and we pull out the really essential pieces, giving you a clear, efficient understanding of what's actually happening and, why it matters.
Okay, good. So today we're strapping on our virtual scuba gear, I guess, and plunging into a big one, the recent Google I/O 2025 keynote. We've gone through the official transcript from Google's YouTube channel and also looked at a condensed version from The Verge, just to get you the critical info.
Yeah, and our goal today is pretty straightforward. We want to help you know what you are investing, whether that's your time trying to wrap your head around these advancements or your attention, which gets pulled everywhere, or even just thinking about future tech. We're here to break down Google's latest moves. So we'll look at this. What they actually do, the key announcements, the product updates, how they grow, the progress in their AI models, user adoption stats, and so why it matters, the potential impact on, well, everything, technology and our daily lives.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Let's dive in.
Okay. A logical place to start is probably with the engine driving, well, so much of this, Google's rapid progress in artificial intelligence. Sundar Pichai, right at the beginning, he really hammered home that accelerating pace. He even noted they've moved beyond saving their best models just for the big I/O event anymore.
Right. It feels like we were just talking about the last big AI thing, and now they're basically saying, oh, that's old news. I think they said something like announcing over a dozen new models and research bits since the last I/O, launching more than 20 significant AI products and features. It's just a whirlwind.
It really is. And the progress in their main AI models, the Gemini family, that's particularly noteworthy. Pichai highlighted this big jump in ELO scores, which is a way they measure how these models perform relative to each other. They've jumped over 300 points since the first Gemini Pro. Think of it like a chess player suddenly getting hundreds of points better. Their strategic thinking, their problem solving is just significantly improved.
Wow, 300 points. That's a massive leap. And apparently this Gemini 2.5 Pro is now just dominating the El Marino leaderboard, across everything.
Pretty much sweeping it. It's seen as the top performer in a whole range of tests.
So what does that actually mean, though, for, us?
Well, that level of performance, it translates to AI that can tackle more complex stuff with greater accuracy, more nuance, whether it's understanding tricky instructions or generating more creative text or just processing information better. These improvements in the core models, they'll power more capable AI everywhere. And it's not just general smarts. They've seen huge progress in AI for coding specifically. Yeah. The updated 2.5 Pro even hit #1 on the web dev arena, beating the last version by 142 ELO points. That's a big deal for AI helping developers.
And it sounds like developers are already jumping on it. You mentioned Gemini being the fastest growing model on platforms like Cursor.
Yeah, reportedly generating hundreds of thousands of lines of, accepted code every minute. That's a huge vote of confidence from the people actually building things.
Okay, but how are they making such fast progress? What's enabling this?
All right, good question. A huge piece of that is Google's investment in their infrastructure, specifically their 7th-gen tensor processing unit, or TPU, which they call Ironwood. This new chip, it's custom designed for the massive compute needed for AI. That gives them a 10-fold performance increase over the last generation. Get this, 42.5 exaflops of compute per pod.
Exaflops?
Yeah.
That's a quintillion calculations a second, right? Just mind-boggling numbers.
Exactly. It's immense processing power. It lets them train and run these incredibly complex AI models at a massive scale. And Ironwood is also coming to Google Cloud customers later this year, so businesses get access to. This really shows that how they grow. It's not just the models, it's the foundational power behind them.
So smarter AI running more efficiently, that's Yeah, that's a powerful mix. And clearly, a lot of people are already using these tools.
Oh, absolutely. Pichai shared some, frankly, pretty staggering stats on adoption across their platforms. The amount of data their AI processes measured in tokens has jumped 50 times in just 1 year. 50. It's now at 480 trillion tokens monthly.
Wait, 50 times 480 trillion. That's hard to even comprehend. That gives you a sense of the scale. Wow.
It really does. And it's not just within Google's own services.
Yeah.
Developers are actively building with this stuff, too.
Right, you mentioned the APIs.
Exactly. Over 7 million developers have now used the Gemini API through Google AI Studio and Vertex AI. That's a 5-fold increase since the last I.O. And on Vertex AI, which is their platform for enterprise AI development, usage there has surged 40 times in the same period.
40 times. Okay, so developers are definitely seeing the potential here.
For sure. And the Gemini app itself, the consumer-facing one, that's got over 400 million monthly active users now. And they noted that people using the more advanced 2.5 Pro model seem to be engaging with it even more.
And search, of course. Can't forget search. AI overviews. 1.5 billion users.
1.5 billion monthly users, yeah. Making Google Search basically the largest generative AI platform globally right now. And like Pichai said, AI mode is positioned as the next big step for search, promising a more intelligent, more interactive experience.
Yeah.
So this huge adoption across all these different areas, it really demonstrates that how they grow, angle expanding reach, deepening engagement with the AI tools.
It's just remarkable how quickly AI is embedding itself into everything we use. Speaking of integration, they also showed off some really fascinating stuff in communication and assistance. Tell us about Google Beam.
Yeah, Google Beam was interesting. It builds on their earlier, maybe you remember, Project Starline research. It's an AI platform designed to take standard 2D video feeds and make them feel more realistic, more 3D, more immersive. It uses an array of 6 cameras, and AI algorithms kind of stitch those streams together to render a 3D image on a special light field display. Plus, it has really precise head tracking in real time.
So instead of just a flat picture, it's almost like the person is, they're in the room with you. That's the idea.
That's the idea, yeah. They're even partnering with HP to bring the first Google Beam devices to some select customers later this year. Could really change remote meetings, potentially.
Yeah, could bridge that gap. And they're bringing some of that AI into regular Google Meet too, right? The translation.
Exactly. Some of the Starline tech, like real-time speech translation, is coming to Meet. Initially, it'll be English and Spanish, but they plan to add more languages. The goal is just breaking down those language barriers in virtual meetings, making global collaboration, smoother.
The demo they showed, booking that vacation rental with the live translation, it looked pretty seamless. It even seemed to capture some of the tone and expression.
That feature's coming for subscribers soon, and then enterprise users later in the year. Another really cool development is the evolution of their AI assistant, building on Project Astra. Gemini Live now gets Astra's ability to understand what it sees through your phone's camera and also what's on your screen.
Right, I remember seeing those examples, like it correcting someone who thought a garbage truck was a convertible.
Yeah. Or explaining that a shadow wasn't a person following them, kind of grounding you in reality, I guess.
Or a reality check from your AI. Okay, so that's rolling out.
Rolling out to everyone on Android and iOS, yeah. Then there's Project Mariner. This is more of a research prototype, but it's for an AI agent that can actually interact with websites to do tasks for you. It can now handle multiple tasks at once, up to 10, they said, and it has this teach and repeat feature. So you show it how to do something once, and it learns to do similar things.
Okay, that feels like a big step. Moving from just answering questions to actually taking action online.
It is, and those capabilities, the agentic stuff, they're making available to developers through the Gemini API so they can build it into their own apps.
So we'll start seeing more apps that can, book things for us or fill out forms.
Potentially, yeah. And they're bringing that directly into the main Gemini app with something called agent mode. The example was finding an apartment for you and your roommates. Gemini could search listings, filter them using Mariner's web skills, and even schedule tours using what they call the Model Context Protocol, which is basically a way for different AI bits to work together on a complex goal.
Wow, okay. No more bouncing between 10 different websites and apps. That sounds incredibly useful. Is that coming soon?
They mentioned an experimental version of agent mode is coming soon for subscribers, yeah.
And then there was personal context. How does that fit in?
Right. Personal context is about making the AI more, personal and helpful. With your permission, and they stressed, it's private and transparent. Gemini can access relevant info from your other Google apps.
Like the Gmail example. Personalized smart replies.
Exactly. Gemini could look at your drive notes or past emails or even your travel itinerary in Docs and then generate a reply that not only sounds like you, but also includes specific relevant details from those sources.
That sounds super practical. No more digging for that flight number yourself. When's that coming?
That's slated for Gmail this summer for subscribers. So all these things, Beam, Meet Translation, Gemini Live, Mariner, Agent Mode, Personal Context, they really show what they do, right? Introducing these innovative AI features to make things easier and more productive.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get into the core intelligence behind all this. The next generation of Gemini models themselves, Demis Hassabis came out and called Gemini 2.5 Pro their most intelligent model ever. Pretty bold claim.
It is a bold claim. And he backed it up by stressing just how fast they're moving. He mentioned an updated 2.5 Pro was just released in preview, like 2 weeks before I.O. This latest version is apparently topping coding benchmarks like that web dev arena we mentioned, and getting leading results in other learning tests too. Suggests really continuous rapid improvement.
And they have Gemini Flash too, right? The sort of faster, more efficient one.
Exactly. Flash is positioned as the official workhorse. The updated 2.5 Flash is apparently better across almost everything: reasoning, coding, handling long context. It even ranks second only to 2.5 Pro on that El Marino leaderboard. So really capable, but faster and cheaper to run.
And both Flash and Pro are expected to be generally available soon.
That's the plan, yeah. This clearly shows how they grow, constantly refining the models for both raw power with Pro and efficiency with Flash.
Okay, so better core models. What new capabilities does that unlock? Tulsi Doshi talked about some specific features, right?
She did. She highlighted some exciting stuff built on these next-gen models. One was new text-to-speech. It has support for multiple speakers, specifically 2 distinct voices built right into the audio output. You can even do things like shift to whisper or switch between, I think, over 24 languages, all while keeping the same voice characteristics.
Wow, that's incredibly expressive. 2 voices, whispering, multiple languages.
Very versatile. And that advanced text-to-speech is already in the Gemini API, with a preview using 2.5 Flash for the live API coming soon. They also talked security-enhanced protections in Gemini 2.5 against tricky stuff like indirect prompt injections. They called it their most secure model yet.
Which is obviously important. And transparency, too. Thought summaries.
Right, thought summaries. That's in both 2.5 Pro and Flash via the API and Vertex AI. It basically organizes the model's internal thinking process into a clear format, so developers can get insights into how the AI reached its conclusion, which is super valuable.
And controlling costs. Thinking budgets?
Yeah, efficiency and cost are always key. They made 2.5 Flash even more efficient, needing fewer tokens of the data units for these models for the same performance. And they're bringing thinking budgets to 2.5 Pro. Lets developers basically set limits on how many tokens the model uses for reasoning, controlling cost, and latency.
Okay, that makes sense. Tulsi also showed that demo, right? Using 2.5 Pro in AI Studio to make a 3D web app from just a sketch.
Yeah, that was impressive. Its multimodal capabilities let it understand the sketch, generate the 3D animations, figure out the code changes across multiple files, all in like 37 seconds.
That really shows the power, bridging that gap between just an idea and actual creation.
Totally. Highlights that multimodality in development. And speaking of code, they mentioned Jules, their AI coding agent, now in public beta. Jules can apparently handle really complex tasks in big code bases, like updating old software versions, much faster than a human could.
Huge productivity boost for engineers, potentially. What about Gemini Diffusion?
Gemini Diffusion, yeah. That's an experimental text-to-image model. The key thing there is speed, like 5 times faster than their previous fastest, they said, while still being really good, especially for coding-related image tasks.
And finally, deep think mode, pushing the limits.
Right. Deep think for Gemini 2.5 Pro. It uses cutting-edge research for advanced reasoning, problem-solving. They showed impressive results on super tough benchmarks, the U.S. Math Olympiad 2025, Live Code Bench, MMMU for multimodal understanding, really bleeding-edge stuff.
But that's just for trusted testers for now.
Initially, yeah. So all these budgets, DGS, security, transparency, efficiency controls, the coding demo, Jules, diffusion, deep think it's all part of how they grow, constantly pushing model capabilities and exploring new research directions.
Looking even further ahead, Demis Hassabis talked about this vision for a world model. What exactly is that?
It's a pretty ambitious concept, an AI system that can learn to plan and imagine by basically simulating aspects of the real world, kind of like our brains do. He pointed to their successes in mastering complex games like Go and StarCraft as steps in that direction. And also the Genie-2 model, which can generate interactive 3D environments from just a single image prompt.
So building AI that understands the world more deeply.
That's the idea. He even mentioned Gemini robotics, exploring how AI can teach robots useful tasks. Think more adaptable, helpful robots in the future. The ultimate goal seems to be evolving the Gemini app into a true universal AI assistant, one that's really personal, proactive, super powerful, seen as a major step towards artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
And we saw an upgraded Gemini Live demo related to that, right? Fixing a bike.
Exactly, showing off improvements in voice output, memory, even controlling computer functions, all while helping with a real-world task.
So that long-term vision, that clearly connects to what they do in terms of future plans and why it matters for how we'll eventually interact with AI. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Search. Still absolutely core to Google's mission, as Sundar Pichai emphasized, and AI is fundamentally changing it.
Totally. He highlighted how well AI overviews are doing, and then introduced the all-new AI mode as a complete reimagining of search built on advanced reasoning. He also noted people are already asking much longer, more complex questions now. AI mode started rolling out in the US today, powered by that advanced Gemini 2.5 model.
And Liz Reed gave more details on AI mode, right? What makes it different?
Yeah, she talked about a few things. A dynamic UI that changes based on your query. Conversational follow-ups so you can refine your search. And this technique called query fan-out, which lets it explore the web more deeply, more comprehensively. Plus, it pulls in real-time info from Google's datasets, knowledge graph, shopping graph, maps data.
So more relevant, up-to-date results. And more features coming, too, in AI mode labs.
Right. Personalized suggestions using that personal context from Gmail, recommending restaurants or events based on your emails. And also deep search, which aims to create these really thorough, well-cited reports on complex topics. It's moving beyond just giving you links towards actually synthesizing information for you.
Rajan Patel showed that cool demo with the sports stats, right? Generating tables and graphs directly in search.
Yeah, handling complex data analysis and visualization right there in the results.
Yeah.
Really powerful. He also showed Project Mariner's agent capabilities being integrated. So AI mode could help you find event tickets or make restaurant reservations, moving search from just finding info to actually helping you do things.
And multimodality is huge here, too. Google Lens has 1.5 billion users now.
Massive user base. And they're integrating Project Astra's live visual understanding into AI mode with Search Live. So you can point your camera at something like a tricky DIY repair or a confusing science experiment and get real-time help and answers.
That sounds incredibly useful for, well, everyday problems. And shopping, too. Vidya Srinivasan showed how AI mode changes that.
Big time. She demoed visual inspiration, getting personalized recommendations based on your needs, like finding toys for toddlers or cleaning stuff from messes. There was even a virtual try-on feature using a custom image generation model, plus price tracking and agentic checkout.
Wow. So the whole search experience is being transformed. That's definitely what they do with product innovation, and huge for why it matters in how we find info and shop.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about creativity? AI is making big waves there, too.
Yeah, Google's definitely focused on empowering creators, music, audio, images, video. They talked about their music AI sandbox and Lyria 2, their model for high-fidelity music generation, now including realistic vocals.
Which raises questions about identifying AI content.
Exactly, and they stress the importance of that.
Yeah.
They're improving SynthHive for putting invisible watermarks in AI content, and they introduced a new SynthHive detector to help spot it.
And that partnership with Darren Aronofsky, using VO for filmmaking.
Yeah, he has Primordial Soup venture using VO. They showed a clip from a short film called Ancestra, blending live action and VO-generated visuals really effectively.
Very cool. And Flow, a new tool.
Flow, yeah. A new AI filmmaking tool combining VO, Imagen, and Gemini. Designed to help creatives with things like character consistency, camera control, manipulating clips. It clearly shows what they do in expanding creative tools with AI and why it matters for artists and storytellers, opening up new possibilities.
And to access all this advanced stuff, they announced new subscription plans.
Right. Google AI Pro, that's global, with enhanced features in the Gemini app. And Google AI Ultra, initially just US. That gets you the highest usage limits, early access to things like Deep Think mode, integration with Flow and VO3, plus YouTube Premium and more storage.
So different tiers of access. That's another part of what they do, offering these options.
Exactly.
Okay, one of the perhaps most futuristic feeling announcements was around Android XR. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was exciting. Shahram Azadi presented Android XR as the first Android platform really built for this Gemini era. It's designed for headsets and lightweight smart glasses. Their vision includes different devices for different needs, immersive headsets for entertainment or work, and these lightweight glasses for on-the-go information and AI interaction.
And they're working with Samsung and Qualcomm on this?
Yep, collaborating with Samsung on the Project Muon headset and Qualcomm for the underlying tech. They're rethinking Google apps for this spatial environment, but importantly, they said many existing mobile apps will work too. And Gemini on headsets will enable things like exploring maps spatially or watching an MLB game like you're there.
But the glasses, those seem like the really interesting part for everyday use.
I agree. They're designed to be worn throughout the day. They have a camera, mics, speakers, maybe an optional in-lens display. The idea is they become a really natural way to interact with AI. We saw that live demo with Nishta backstage, showing how the glasses could identify things, play music, give directions overlaid on your view, help book events, take photos.
The live translation demo was pretty stunning too. Hindi and Farsi into English, just instantly.
Yeah, very impressive. And crucially, they're partnering with stylish brands like Gentle Monster and Warby Parker to actually design these glasses. Making them look good is key for adoption.
Definitely. So this whole vision for ambient computing, AI woven into our physical world through glasses, that's a huge what they do for the future and massive implications for why it matters in how we'll live and interact with tech.
Absolutely. Big potential shift there.
And just to round it out, they didn't just focus on consumer tech, right? They touched on societal impact too.
They did. Highlighted examples like FireSat for spotting wildfires early, or winged drone deliveries for disaster relief, like after Hurricane Helene. And Sundar Pichai shared that personal story about his parents using Waymo autonomous vehicles, emphasizing how technology can genuinely improve lives.
Right, underscoring that broader why it matters, the potential positive impact of AI on society.
And we can't forget the final AI counter-tally. The slightly humorous bit at the end.
Ah, yes, who won?
According to them, Gemini edged it out with 95 mentions.
Okay, good to know. But yeah, jokes aside, the sheer amount of stuff announced at I/O 2025, it really highlights the huge opportunities with AI. Like Pichai said at the end, it's really up to the developers, the builders, the problem solvers everywhere to take these tools and make sure the benefits are shared widely.
So to kind of wrap up our deep dive here, Google I/O 2025 really showed this incredible acceleration in AI development at Google. We saw major advancements in the Gemini models and how they're getting integrated more and more deeply across, well, almost everything. Search, Gmail, communication tools, and looking ahead to things like Android XR.
Yeah, we explored how Google is pushing the core AI capabilities, that's the how they grow part, but also rapidly turning those advances into actual new features and products, the what they do. And it all seems driven by this clear vision for a future where AI is more personal, more proactive, and just seamlessly part of our daily lives, the big why it matters.
Which leads us nicely into a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Considering everything we've talked about today, all these announcements, especially things like the AI assistants becoming more capable, or this idea of ambient computing with XR glasses. What specific technology or capability revealed at Google I/O 2025 do you think will have the biggest impact on your own life in the next few years?
Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the Google I/O 2025 keynote. We really encourage you to keep exploring these fascinating developments.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Until our next deep dive.
Thanks for your listening Know What You Are Investing podcast. Decode the world's top companies. What they do, how they grow, why it matters. If you found this episode valuable, be sure to follow and share with others interested in the future of investing and technology. See you in the next episode.